Andre has every reason to be upset with Dani about this, even if Dani did it because she got caught up in a moment and tested positive for a cancer gene. What is up, everybody? Time to talk about another episode of Beyond the Gates. Today's Tuesday, February 3rd episode of the show. It was better than yesterday, although that's not saying much because yesterday was kind of one of those rough ones. But today, there was enough good by the end. I will say today's episode, the first half started pretty slow, was still pretty boring, but it picked up towards the end. Even if, because of last week's preview, we knew how today was going to end. I'm glad that we finally got there and we got some story movement. Let's start with Anita. We're coming off of her losing her hair thanks to the chemotherapy. And Dani stopped by today to learn from Anita that her hair is falling out. They looked at some old pictures of Tamara Tooney and had an idea of what kind of hairstyle to give Anita since her hair was falling out, and Dani decided to do the haircut for her. Afterwards, Dani broke down because she had to cut her mother's hair, an emotional thing because of the reason for it. We'll get back to Anita. Vernon was with Andre today. They met up to talk about Bill, of all people. Andre really didn't want to talk about Bill today. He doesn't want Bill to take up any more space in his mind. He's over Bill's games. And on one hand, I think Andre should feel that way. On the other hand, Andre was very, very naive in these scenes with Vernon today. Vernon told Andre that Bill came to the realization that divorcing Dani was a mistake. And Andre had some good lines, really clocking Bill with the fact that now that Dani has moved on with Andre, and now that Dani isn't all over Bill, Bill feels some kind of way. Andre was very accurate in his assessment with Bill, which is something we talk about with Bill all the time, everything that Andre said today. But Vernon tried to bring up Bill and Dani's connection, and Vernon is thinking it's because of Bill's stroke and because of Dani's now testing positive for the cancer gene that is making Bill feel different about how things ended. Vernon said in these conversations that he thinks that Dani is completely devoted to Andre, but it won't stop Bill from trying to twist her in knots. So Vernon gave Andre some good needed information that Andre did need, but I still feel like he was being naive in these scenes. But, I mean, he really trusts Dani, and if he had more of a reason to not trust Dani, maybe he would feel different by the way this episode ended. Maybe Andre will start to feel different and be less naive about this Bill and Dani situation. Vernon left that conversation to go home to Anita, and Anita showed off her new shorter hair to Vernon today. Vernon liked it and learned from Anita that she started losing her hair on that date the other night when they were out together. Vernon is, of course, as understanding as ever, saying that Anita was in shock and needed time to process things, which is very true. She did need the time to process the fact that her hair is falling out thanks to chemotherapy. So once again, Vernon, one of the highlights again today. Vernon has been a big highlight as of late on this show. I think he has really finally, maybe not finally, but it did take a longer time than I would have liked it for Vernon to really become the patriarch of the show. I think the way they wrote Vernon in the beginning, because of the politics, he could come across as fake and all about the optics. But now that we are seeing more and more and more family moments with Vernon, he is the backbone of the family. I would say he is really trying to hold the family together, and he always has really tried that. And now we are kind of seeing it on screen instead of the show telling us, which they like to do in storylines a lot, unfortunately. But we are seeing that Vernon is really the foundation of the Dupree family, always trying to hold it all together for the family. Andre went to go see Dani, learned that she had to give Anita a haircut because Anita started losing her hair. And then Andre brought up to Dani what he and Vernon talked about, that Bill wants Dani back, basically. That's what Bill told Vernon. Andre told Dani that Bill told Vernon that giving up on Dani was a mistake. And of course, that kind of made Dani feel good. Not surprising. She's kind of been wanting that since the day the show started, when he was marrying Haley, and she was trying to put a stop to that, being very dramatic about it. Dani admitted to Andre that she can't lie. She likes to hear that Bill told Vernon that. And Dani said that she and Bill have been taking walks down memory lane and have been getting caught up in nostalgia. And this is when Dani finally tells Andre that she kissed Bill. Now, we knew this was going to happen because of the preview last week, but I'm glad we're getting there. Kind of took away a little bit from the punch today, but it should make for a very interesting episode tomorrow. I am intrigued by how they're going to write Andre with all of this. The show has a reputation for writing the men as too weak, and I don't think Andre should be like over the top upset or anything, but I still think he should be upset with this, only because Dani kept this information from him until now and didn't tell him right away. Andre has every reason to be upset with Dani about this, even if Dani did it because she got caught up in a moment and tested positive for a cancer gene. So I do want to see how they write this tomorrow. Bill, meanwhile, was back at the hospital with Haley today, another doctor appointment. He met his new doctor, Dr. Martinez, since it seems Madison is leaving. And Bill told both Dr. Martinez and Madison about Haley making him drink a lot of tea all the time. I think this was probably done to maybe drop hints that in the future this might be a reason that it falls back onto Haley. If the poisoning comes out in the future anyway, it's supposed to be this slow acting poisoning that will never get found out. That's what Randy keeps saying anyway. But Randy, not exactly known for being right on this show a lot. But Bill was surprised because Haley is off about Bill doing whatever it takes to get better. In the past, Haley's been more worried and supportive. And when Bill had a stroke, she was trying to make Bill do everything to be okay, but this time she didn't want Bill to stay overnight for tests, but they talked that out, and Bill will be staying overnight for tests. Will anything come of these tests that may incriminate Haley? Probably not, with how slow this story is being dragged out. They did also drop Grayson's name and blood a lot today, so this is either the show really trying to make us believe that Grayson is the impaler, but it's just a red herring and it will be someone else, or this is the show just making it obvious that Grayson is indeed the impaler, because this is like the third time in 2 weeks they've mentioned Grayson doing blood work, and the impaler is selling some kind of plasma with the blood on the black market. But they did mention that again today. Lastly today was Chelsea and Madison. They were happily talking about leaving together. When Kat arrived, at first Kat was happy to see that Chelsea and Madison had made up. But when Kat learned that they made up not because Madison's staying, but because Chelsea's going to leave with Madison, of course Kat is not happy about that. Of course, Kat is not happy about how that might hurt Chelsea Kat if Chelsea is not around to really have these conversations with Kat, even though Chelsea's saying she can do all the artwork on these purses wherever they're moving to. Kat didn't really like that. And I think Kat brought up a lot of good points today. Now, I think Kat is also concerned for her own life because Chelsea is like her best friend, and I do think Kat losing Chelsea is not going to be great for Kat, because then Kat's just stuck with fucking R2-D2 Tomas, and that's not going to do good for anybody, especially for Kat. So I understand where Kat is coming from. And per usual, Kat can't bite her tongue, and she said that today. Chelsea admitted she was being spontaneous about this decision and that she thought about it for a night, which Kat didn't think a night was long enough. Kat was kind of trying to guilt Chelsea for leaving when Anita and Danny are going through this, but I think Kat was right about that. Chelsea is saying she's excited to leave and go away and maybe try and live a slower, simpler life, but Kat thinks Chelsea will be bored with the slower and simpler life. And I mean, I would agree, for whatever reason, Chelsea storylines are so weird to me with the way they write Chelsea storylines, because they just wrote her again as a party girl. She wants to take drugs, but now she really thinks she's gonna like a slower and simpler life. I think what Kat was saying was that Chelsea and Madison just had a massive argument, and even though Chelsea is saying she's compromising, Kat is saying this is beyond compromise to really try and change herself for Madison in the long run, which is kind of what's happening here. As I said yesterday, I don't know if Chelsea is really leaving the show. If she is, it is a really stupid decision from the producers, because there's far more other characters that should be leaving instead. And I don't think Chelsea is this great written character, especially as of late. Still better than the likes of Ashley, Tomas, Derek, Vanessa, even though I don't see Vanessa going anywhere. So, questionable decision making, if that is the case. But if that isn't the case, I feel like the story is another Chelsea story that's kind of a waste of time. They kind of write Chelsea and Madison's relationship as just a relationship to fill up airtime in the episodes. So that's kind of how I feel about that. But today's episode was better than yesterday's, at least, kinda. And I think tomorrow should be a good one if we get the follow-up on the Dani and Andre conversation. I think Dani, Andre, Bill, Haley are going to have to carry these February sweeps. And I think that story could. So I hope it's on a lot going forward. And it should be on tomorrow. Like, I'm assuming we're getting a follow-up to Andre finding out this news, right? I hope so. And I'm looking forward to it.